Hello, and welcome to the Acastic Record podcast, where we discuss our perspectives on the themes and philosophies found in entertainment, culture, and beyond. I am Dylan, avid fan of history and the stories that have shaped our culture. I am here with,
Jared. I am an author and an enthusiast for all things alchemy.
and we're finally back.
Real.
Been, what, month and a half, 2 months maybe at worst.
Month.
Uh,
I can
a
check the upload
month?
time. But yeah, so quite
Yeah,
some
I believe.
time. That's a
Yeah,
good
we
word
had
for
we
it.
had foolishly thought that we were going to be able to record in the week leading up to Fourth of July, while
Mm,
peak time of our families traveling, uh, and then children were sick and
When
other family
children are
members were sick.
and then when children are sick, that means you are sick. You don't get a say in
Yes,
this matter.
yes,
Because
yeah.
you are
So
getting a
after,
hand in your mouth or something is going to breathe near you and it's going to be really rough.
yeah, yeah, just makes its way through every member of the household,
Oh, so much fun.
and and you just got to wait it out. But yeah, after a month there of lots of activity, we finally are able to sit down for a little bit and discuss things. Um, before, and this actually does tie into our discussion topic for today is a thought that I had over the month that we've since we've last recorded, that I found myself coming back to, um, that I have not, like, I'm sure the question has, like, orbited, you know, my perception for quite some time since I've started on my own journey of, like, looking at culture, looking at stories and media, and seeing, the trends that I like and I don't like, and getting very, we'll say, emotionally invested in the changes that I'm seeing, and having to, like, really come to an understanding of what it means to, like, hey, do you really understand, know and understand what you believe and why you hold so much value to it? Like, if you're going to, like, look out at the world, and I'm sure this is, like, there's some debate logic as well, or, like, debate tactic thing. There's, like, okay, you have made a truth statement of
Mhm.
something. It is now upon you to make the case of why that statement is valid. Um, and so many times, like, I've had to, like, look back at my behavior over the last, like, few years in conversations I've had with family and friends over things, and, like, I was upset about a thing, or I cared a lot about a thing. I listed off a bunch of reasons why that thing was good, or why that subject was bad. It's like, people can, you can talk about the a very easy example. We can talk about how terrible Rings of Power is. We can say, uh, hey, the costumes look silly, the acting is uh, you know bad for these characters, the character, or just the outright characterization that they have made of characters that, like, fans of Lord of the Rings movies or books will know, and they know how that character is supposed to behave, and they're not uh, behaving the way they should, like Galadriel. Um, and it's like, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that, and people will, you can easily have the response simply be, well, but that's what you don't like. What about other people? Like,
Well,
other
nobody
people,
else
they
likes
don't
it
care
either.
as much about it. well, yes,
They'd be
there's a lot of
watching the
people that don't
show.
care for it either. Yeah, and then there's an argument of like if you invest like $1 billion into a property, which I assume they're at that point now,
Mhm.
you kind of have to follow through.
Yeah.
But it's like okay, it's not about let's wash away all those other things are secondary. What is at the core of the response? What is at the heart of the thing that you think is being affected? Like if you look at
Mhm.
Rings of Power and you're like, this isn't how it's written. This is not keeping with the soul of the world that Tolkien made with Middle Earth. Uh, it's important that these characters stay true to this depiction because that is the character those kind of their race is written in a way that is like they are always this way,
Mhm.
and their behavior is just a response out of the core of who they are. And they didn't just like suddenly change in the last few thousand years, and resulted in who we see them as, during the events of Fellowship. Um, it's like, being able to answer like, I don't like that because you are being intentionally subversive to a thing that has been a cornerstone of storytelling for the last century,
Yeah.
and you know what you're doing.
It costs zero
Uh,
dollars and 0 cents to write a fanfic, you don't have to spend $1 billion. You could just write a fanfic.
right,
AO3 is right over there. Like you
right.
didn't have to put
Unless
this
your
up
own,
on
yeah,
on Amazon Prime.
yeah. Unless your own fanfic is not good enough to stand on its own merit, in which case you have to hide it within somebody else's work that has a built-in fan base.
Oh yeah.
Um, which is not me being I'm not being hyperbolic. It's look at the last 20 years, and there's plenty of evidence out there for that.
Oh,
Um, but yeah, that's like being able to give an account for it. But yeah, all those other things are secondary. Uh, the little nit, we'll say we'll put them under. Is it the nitpick or is it the heart of the issue that you care about? And don't get lost in the details, but get at the heart of like why you value that story, or that even if it's not a story, if it's just like
subject,
some
topic,
other
or yeah.
hobby or interest or idea, and you see it, and you something you hold valuable, you need to know and understand that thing if you care about it so much that you're able to defend your position and or make a case to why it's so great.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I I'm assuming that I'm getting that all correctly. There is I guess you could see it as an almost anti-reactionary way to mold your own mind instead of hearing because especially as we've all lived through the last 10 years and watched the discourse, if we want to call it that, that has lovingly been dubbed the culture war. You can kind of, if you really do zoom out, you can see that there's a lot of reactionary ideas and side taking of what I have to think and believe about Thing, because Thing was already decided by my team as all the evil in the universe, or as the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it's never an in between. And that's why you get these crazy things of, like, the critic ratings. Of course, that's always fun, where you get to look at the critic ratings, like Mixtape, that game that came out, and the critics were like, guys, it's
my
the
goodness,
best, and everybody's like, yeah, it definitely isn't. Why is this getting
yeah,
perfect tens? And Uh,
I don't even need to play.
and yeah,
I can just sit here and the game plays itself. There's no failure.
and so just things that are that comically imbalanced in perception and being able to zoom out and sort of insulate yourself from having a reactionary opinion on things. Like, yes, it is pretty fair that with a lot of things, especially as we have watched arts, culture, entertainment, and all the things uh that are stories are important because they are a means of communicating value and morality and a lot of other philosophical and cultural ideas, and as we have watched them all sort of erode over the last decade or two into into the stuff that we see nowadays, or at the time of recording this, of course, everybody's talking about the Odyssey and whatnot, and how a lot of people's mental alarm bells were going off the moment they started dropping the first trailers for it, and everyone was like, "Oh boy, here
Yeah,
we go."
it's like it's an ancient Greek epic, and we've made casting choices that don't make sense with the story that we're working with.
Mhm.
It's
And
like,
s-
what's that? Like, Nolan, what's the thought here, buddy?
hey, bud, what were you aiming for? Please walk me through it. And
Yeah,
so, yeah, and
that's a whole nother podcast in itself, though.
it really is. But the idea of being able to step back, analyze things, and go, okay, so I can see it's bad. I can see thing is bad. You were talking, of course, Rings of Power. I could see it's bad, but then being able to actually step up as a avowed fan of thing and say, here is all of the reasons that it is bad. Here is all of my elite ball knowledge on why it is bad. I know No, I don't know. You know Lord of the Rings. You could probably give a 2 hour long thesis improvised on why Galadriel or Sauron or other characters depicted are horridly misrepresented by Rings of Power. You would probably be able to do that, but I know I couldn't because I am not as invested in Lord of the Rings. The most Lord of the Rings knowledge I have, I mean, I'll say it right here up front, is Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, which are not even canon, but roughly take
Oh,
place
buddy.
within the same universe. So I know what an Uruk is, and I know how to recruit them and make armies of them. Beyond that,
Oh, we're gonna call that we're gonna call what happens in that game recruiting.
it's a little, yeah, it's a little less, recruiting, a lot more, forced slavery, but it's
Forced
basically,
conscription
yeah.
is very nice way of putting it.
Hmm. Yeah, and so I wouldn't have that knowledge, but I wouldn't put it past Dylan to, or I guess I wouldn't doubt that Dylan would be able to give a very well crafted defense of why Rings of Power does not walk in the same spirit of Lord of the Rings. I mean, for one, I would a question that is, I guess, maybe a little close to home, and whatnot, would be how many Christian writers were on Rings of Power relative to Lord of the Rings? Because that was
Not
the
even well,
that
not yes. That yes, it was it's there's definitely like bring it back around. Uh Obviously like Tolkien very devout Catholic,
Mhm.
and so his faith undoubtedly had an inspiration or had an effect on uh the virtues and some of the themes that you see in Lord of the Rings.
Mhm.
But he did write it as a mythology for England because like he was this, he was a linguist.
Mhm.
He of the, many translations we have of Beowulf, uh he he did his own like translation of the epic.
I had heard of
Um
that.
and and so and the language of Elvish in Lord of the Rings, like he made his own language for this story, and he took the way that his Lord of the Rings is um, written, and especially like we'll say cosmology of like how their creation myth and which is not actually a myth, it's like actual stated
Mhm.
fact for them. Um, but
When you're the author, it doesn't have to be a myth anymore. You can say, "Nope,
right,
this is how it happened. Fight me."
so like you do have a supreme god, but then there are also we'll say demiurges that serve under him, um, which demiurges, little g gods, and then they have their own like angelic beings that so they're the Valar, and then they have the Maiar, which is like Gandalf, Sauron, uh, Saruman,
Very,
Radagast, the Blue
very
Mages, like
powerful incarnations.
they're yeah, they are angelic beings that or in an easier way to see them is like they are like angelic beings that are given power and authority by the Valar, um, to do certain things. So Gandalf and the other wizards of his order, like they were Maiar that were sent there to assist Middle Earth because they suspected that Sauron was still around. Um, they were supposed to help the world prepare for him to come back and overcome that threat. Uh, but it's like, yeah, that's third, fourth order of events. But like it is supposed to like there are definitely like pagan like it's I wouldn't say pagan. He's quoted saying yes, it's supposed to be a mythology for England. He did all of this research into the folklore and myth of the British Isles, and I believe Scandinavian as well. Like I think the dwarves from The Hobbit are actually like the names he pulled them from the Nibelgunlied, which is the story of like Siegfried and
Mm.
Fafnir,
I was gonna
which is
say,
a
I was
dragon's
like Nibelung. I know that
Slayer
name.
story. Yep.
Frothing
Um,
at the fate mouth.
it's a side tangent. We went to like this, uh, like this would be like a bookstore. We went to this bookstore back when, uh, this would have been like 3 years ago because my wife was still pregnant with our daughter at the time. Um, like very early on in the pregnancy, but we had gone to I think a baseball game, and then we went to this bookstore. Which, if we were talking about like in a D&D setting, this
Mhm.
would be like a bookstore that the party's wizard goes to because he's trying to find like spells hidden away in tomes or something.
Mm.
Um, because in the front of the store he has some of the most expensive things, and so he has like the epic poem of like the 12 Paladins of Charlemagne, and he has a copy of the Nibelgunlied, but it's from like the 50s. And I'm looking at the price tags of these things, and I'm like, oh, that looks really cool. That is like $100 for that thing. I guess I won't.
Nah,
So,
no, not today.
but Tolkien took what he knew from his love of actual life lore and his knowledge as a linguist and made Lord of the Rings, and he wanted to put forward the virtues and values that he had both grown up on and developed over his life. Um, all while, having the input of people in his life that he like loved and trusted the most, like the other Inklings. Um, but on the topic of uh, stories and the values or virtues, or even uh, narrative themes and tropes that we like most, we're doing something different
Something
with the
completely different.
bulk of the discussion for this podcast session. Rather than discussing a specific topic or philosophy, like evil empires or Stoicism's bad PR in the modern day.
We're not
We are
giving
going to be
2
discussing.
hours of Lord of the Rings lore, sorry.
Yes, you hit the button, man. You hit the ADHD button for Lord of the Rings. I'm contractually obligated to follow the rabbit trail.
Well, here we
Uh,
go.
but yeah, we're going to discuss some of our favorite themes and tropes from different forms of entertainment, or that are just found all across them, um, be they from books or electronic media. Um, while planning this out, we came up with quite a few.
Hmm.
We narrowed it down to just a handful for this first one. So maybe in a couple months, we might revisit it with some of the other uh, ideas that we had. But yeah, we're gonna go through those and just alternate the ones that we came up with. And I'm gonna warn you all right now, you too, Jared. You're gonna be hearing me sing the praises of Wheel Time quite a bit
Oh,
during this discussion.
I'm kind of fine with that because every so often, I mean, obviously you do a lot, but every so often I just have somebody will come across my life either online or outside of the internet and just be like, "Oh yeah, by the way, Wheel of Time." And I'm like, "Ah, you're gonna make me read that, aren't you?" Okay.
It,
I'm
I
I'm
heard
gonna end
it.
up reading it at some point.
Yes. It, and that's not a bad thing. Shouldn't see it as a, begrudging, like I must accept my fate kind of thing. Like it
Oh
is
no,
an
that's
actually
that I'm
good.
genuinely eager to get in because I'm
Yes.
like, what is? And it's also, as far as I remember, it was kind of where Brandon Sanderson got his start, right? Because he finished the series for the author. Am I thinking of a different
I
one?
don't know about him getting his start. Like he'd established himself
Of
enough as a
okay.
writer
Because I
that
remember that was one of his
when
claims to fame, at the very least, was that he was kind of the one who finished it, and
yeah.
everybody said, yeah, it was a good, or at least semi seamless author transition. That he was able
Oh,
to
for
capture
sure.
the spirit and
Yeah.
understand the characters. Oh, it's almost like that's what we were talking about. Ah, flawless.
Yeah. Yes. Oh man. Yeah. As Brandon Sanderson has gotten very popular. Another side tangent here. He's been having studios approach him to like adapt his stuff, and he's the kind of guy that's just like, hey, if you're not going to keep true to my story that I have here, then we're going to say no. And he did have that happen where somebody like, I don't know if it was Mistborn, one of the Mistborn books, or if it was one of his other books, but they were like, I'd like to do an adaptation. He's like, cool, like send me the script and I'll let you know. And they brought back the script. He's like, they were using the names of things and kind of the setting, but it was their story. It's
Speaking
completely
of
like
fanfic,
different from the original. And it's just like, no, you don't have my permission to go forward on this project because you're not actually telling the story that I wrote. You're just trying to use my story as a skin suit for whatever it is that you're trying to put out there. Um, but
I
yeah,
understand that.
when Robert Jordan passed away, his wife approached Brandon Sanderson and asked that he finish the Wheel of Time series. And I think basically like he sat down with all the collected notes that Robert Jordan had left behind and was like you know funny thing about Wheel of Time is that, like any author, anybody that's trying to like create a setting or a story will know that once you start getting into world building, it kind of becomes a monster that grows and grows the more you feed it. Until you're just like, oh crap, I started out wanting to write a trilogy and now I have 13 books in my series. And that's what happened to Wheel of Time.
Oh no, well, just a
uh,
little bit more exposition. Oh
yeah,
no, it's a whole
even
other book
those,
again.
yeah. And those last three books were like the cherry on top of that whole deal because the whole like Robert George's like, okay, this next book is the last one, and then Brandon Sanderson sat down with this book. So like, this is three more books.
This is
That is how much there is
oh,
here.
this is a lot of more books. I don't know what you're talking about, my guy.
Yeah. Yes. So it is. Yeah, it's great. It's, I've heard people say that it feels like nerd homework, which I hate, but it's also like valid because there's a lot out there. There's a lot of plot threads. There's a lot of character names. But it's fantastic, and y'all are going to hear about it from me a lot if you haven't heard enough from me about it already.
That will definitely
With
get thrown into my audiobook library.
heck yeah, man, and don't go near Amazon's adaptation.
What do you?
With that,
Okay. Oh yes,
uh,
their show adaptation. I remember. Yeah, they Rings of Powered it.
yeah, it's pretty bad.
Kind of
Like
cringe, bruv.
it's well abject character assassination, even for the like they definitely took the feminist route with, but the abject character assassination of like everybody
Hmm.
in there.
Well, it's a good thing
Like
Hollywood
no one
isn't
gets.
known for doing that.
Yeah, it's the more I was hearing about it, the more enraged I was because it's just like you don't even care about the characters. You don't care about like maintaining what makes this good. Anyway,
You guys really
so
just
on that,
wanted to write your fanfic. That's cool. That's fine.
yeah, and on that note, we'll get into our first narrative theme here, which is actually a bit of a rehash of our first podcast about
Mm.
men in literature and literature needing men and what a guys like to see in good stories, and that's the band of brothers or the fellowship aspect of committed collection of like-minded friends and allies working towards a common goal together, compensating for each other's weaknesses or you know multiplying strength and enriching each other's experience. I think the easiest examples, obviously, as we've already mentioned before, is Lord of the Rings, most famously. Like, you actually have the first part of it is called the Fellowship
I was
of the
gonna
Ring.
say you can't say
Uh,
fellowship without that word as a
yes,
connotation coming up in your
yes,
brain. Fellowship of the Ring. That's just what my brain does.
yes. Yeah, it's a cultural icon. It's a formative core story for the West, which is why it's such a big deal. Um, but other other ones that are probably not as well known, like and actually, to shift shift into a different gear with that one. Um, obviously, this is not. It's not simply like a theme that only applies that only men like to uh, see. Like we like we like it, and it's in a certain way. Um, like with Fellowship of the Ring, or if you've ever watched HBO's Band of Brothers series,
Mm.
um, which once I like hit a certain age in high school, um, around Veterans Day, Military Channel or History Channel would start just playing Band of Brothers, like all the way through, just a Band of Brothers marathon sometimes. Uh, and we would sit down with my dad, my brother, and I. We would sit down and we would watch it, and eventually we got like the full disc set. Became like an annual thing that we would watch together, because you have like that answered the call to fight against the Nazis and go through just like all of these trials together, and are just trying to keep each other alive, trying to stay alive, and accomplish the goal, uh, and just all the different interactions with each other along the way, and the things that they overcome together. Um, it really gets at the kind of like oriented, like valor driven desires that we as men have, and to have other men that are like you can depend upon to help push you forward into that. even though like it's like, hey, we could all end up dying tomorrow in the middle of a surprise attack. Um, I'm confident that like we're gonna be okay because I got these other guys with me. Um, Women like this trope too, though. My uh, wife, we have this. There was an anime that we watched that we're waiting on the next chapter of it to be released with bated breath called Haikyuu.
Heck, yep.
Which
Volleyball,
yep,
right?
it is. Yep, volleyball. Um, it is the most wholesome sports anime I've ever seen. Um, and it's just like collection of high school players doing their teams uh volleyball club, and them push like trying to number one at the beginning revive the volleyball club, get the gang, the players that were kind of like thinking about quitting back together because like their legendary coach had to retire for the sake of his health. Um and yeah, pulling through and finding ways to like push each other and acquire new skills. And uh my wife loves it because and number one, she is a teacher.
Mm.
So she sees like these students,
Students
these
trying.
these young men just be doing their best, trying to be the best that they can be. And some of them are being really grumpy about it, but then they come around to how fun it is and how fulfilling it is to achieve your goals. Uh, and she's got like this one favorite character. Um, I think his name is Tsukishima. He is the grumpy one who's just like, volleyball is just a club. I'm gonna play because you know I need to do a club and I can block. Um, and he's surrounded by all the other players on the team that are much more enthusiastic about it. And he's like, guys, it's just a club. It's no big deal. And going into this significant like regional volleyball game, he's like, I'm not gonna beat their ace, spiker, but I'm gonna try to block some of his stuff. And he finally blocks one. And
Oh.
he's like gone through this whole process of like just kind of coasting and then coming up against better players and uh from other schools, because they had like did this like joint training practice thing with a couple of other schools, and he learns how to be a better blocker. And they're just like, yeah, you're gonna hit that moment though, and you're not gonna be ready for it. But that's when volleyball is gonna like really mean something to you. And it's like it's one of those moments in an episode where you're like, oh, this is where the rest of the budget went.
Hmm.
um
Guys, I
because
found
he
all their
finally,
money.
yeah, because this ace spiker has been just knocking in points, and he finally gets in the way and manages to block one and score on their ace spiker. And they spend like a good like 30 seconds of him processing this and getting that adrenaline rush of how great volleyball is, and being like one of the other guys on the team that loves the game, of him just like screaming like that he, in celebration of his success. And
Mm.
it's like everybody is emotional, like the coach, the assistants, the other players, me and my wife. We're just like, he did it.
Yeah.
But it's great. We love it. It's a lot of fun, and the next movie comes out next year, and we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I
um
mean, I was gonna say, I think we brought this up in the first one, maybe we didn't. One of the things that ties into this theme that is not a fixed story, but rather a framework, that being Dungeons and Dragons. That's kind of the one of the ultimate things in choose your own adventure of Band of Brothers and Fellowship style uh exploration, you know, epic journeys, all of those sorts of things. There's one of the big reasons I would imagine, at least, obviously, we can only speculate, but one of the reasons that it went from being kind of underground, at least in like the 2000s as I remember it, and then coming back is partially because of some mainstream recognition. I think Stranger Things. I don't watch the show, but I just know that it has been mentioned a lot, and then also, of course, Baldur's Gate be kind of breaking out of its little D&D mold to get other
I'd
people.
argue that Critical Role probably is
Critical Role, you're right,
had
and
a
yeah,
more significant drive to get D&D into the mainstream,
as more
and
people
then
played
strange,
games, as more people
yeah,
played
and
games that had voices of Matt Mercer and Laura Bailey, there was like, oh, I guess we should see what else
yeah,
they're doing.
yeah.
Um,
Just pick any video game or English dubbed anime from the
they're in it.
last 15 years and just count how many members of the Critical Role cast are involved. And
uh,
it's a fun game to play.
yeah, but all of that coming together with the, as we talked a bit about in our Warhammer and our Empires one, where at a time in culture and society where men especially are feeling very what's como se dice, what's the word, unpurposed, feeling very undirectioned and undriven. We're just like, what do we do, where do we go, uh how can we recapture what we've been primally wired for, of working
Yeah,
together with our hunting party to take down the mammoth, essentially. And that is that idea, the abstraction of a bunch of dudes with weapons of some
yeah,
kind taking down a far greater force that they couldn't take alone,
yes,
is
yeah,
captured in this idea. We're like, we want it so bad. We're like, any story that gets to that is so wonderful. And that's also, yeah, like
mhm,
why I think that D&D really scratches that itch, because you can
mhm,
get a bunch of people that are like, hey, here's, a representation of a facet of myself, my imagination, whatnot.
yeah,
um, and let's all pit it against whatever mammoth the DM has cooked up for us.
yeah,
And so,
yes. In a time when, especially for men, we're feeling isolated, lacking direction, uh, lacking purpose. Uh, the unfortunately fantasy for many of having a group of friends to tackle objectives and seek success and self improvement with uh, is very appealing and very popular.
mm, yeah, you might have screwed up society a little bit when people will jump at any given chance to be able to try and recapture that feeling, which is also probably
Yeah, I
what
have a
explains the shortage of people willing to DM versus people who want to play, now that I think about it.
well, yeah, I
DME
was
isn't
actually,
nearly as close to that.
yes, additional intro thoughts that actually just reminded me of, aside from, back to the Rolodex, I guess. Um, might be dating myself a little bit with referencing a Rolodex uh, in or the year of our Lord 2026, but um, the just not understanding the level of like privilege we have in today's day and age, that uh, it's just like, oh yeah, like we're in the first world, like we have, you know, we have all of these toys at our disposal, and it's just like, no, you don't understand just in the wide breadth of human history. It's like, you don't have to worry about food scarcity, you don't have to worry about exposure to the elements. um, 99% of any kind of disease or illness is a non-issue because you have medication, you have uh, the knowledge of treatment options. You can, and if worse comes to worse, you can head down to a stocked, lean, maintained hospital. Um, and within a certain amount of time, most of the time, like you'll probably be okay on the other end of the treatment you get there, unless it's like a really bad chronic condition, obviously. Um, and the fact that like all of these needs uh, are just completely taken care of and are just not something we really have to worry about. Like they're just things that we just take for granted. And
Reality.
instead of having to fight for survival, we have to fill all that time with something else. And so either you have like a 9 to 5 job and your family, and then you have all of your hobbies. And if you don't, and if you have a job but no family, you have your hobbies,
Mhm.
and all you have is your hobbies and the friends, like, and just the level of like the to say we are in a consumer culture doesn't encapsulate the entirety of what that means. It's like, no, how many people actually like produce or try to produce and take the risk to produce anything? Like, how much TV do you consume? How much, uh,
Social
you
media,
know,
YouTube.
so social, yeah, yeah. How much TV? How many video games? How many, uh, hundreds of dollars Lego figure sets do you put your money into? How much YouTube do you watch every day, even when you're at your job? You like we have the luxury to be able to fill our time with these things when like
Mm.
150 years ago, couldn't imagine the amount that we get to uh, what we have at our disposal. And and it was a convicting thought for me because I thought to myself, like, man, how many, like, to use self-deprecating language on the subject, how many toys am I juggling right now?
Hmm.
Uh, it's how many games or projects am I playing through right now that are just all about me? Or the thing that I'm doing right now is focused on what I can get out of it, and how many things in my life are all about what I can get out of it,
Hmm.
and how much am I showing up for another person, and how much am I producing like trying to produce something of value, of like, okay, I've absorbed all of these stories, which I think is part of what led you yourself into writing.
Hmm.
um, is I'm consuming all of these stories and I've experienced these things in my life. Um, I should try and turn that into something. Take what I've learned, take what I've absorbed, and produce something with it. Um, and I'm trying to like find what that could be for me. But
It's led me down some
uh,
very crazy rabbit holes.
yes, it did.
And then now Dylan has to hear these things of, hey, hey, hey. So I'm exploring this whole idea. So I was on this whole thing of the golem myth of Jewish mythology, and now I'm getting into this whole thing about the idea of words as power. And because if you look throughout all these cultures, he's like, what, Jared? What are you doing? Where? What are you on about?
Is is this gonna sound more sane in your YouTube video?
It no, it'll
Maybe.
it'll be worse on purpose.
Maybe.
Yeah, I will go out of my way to ensure that I sound as unhinged as possible. I make a video. If I can make a video saying that Five Nights at Freddy's and Dark Souls 2 are telling the same story, I can make this sound completely unhinged too. Yeah, I take pride in the insanity that I embrace. That's just what I
and
do.
and dragging your friends kicking and screaming on the journey with you.
Yes. I do very much agree that yes, the idea of consumer culture, especially this uh, the the modern day we live in, is it is part of its own problem. It is a how do I put this nicely? It is a problem that everybody wants to blame the next person in line for, or the person above them for, and it's
Mhm.
or blame around in a circle, where you'll have the company saying, "Hey, we're just doing what the people say they want. That's it's if people are buying it, we'll keep making it." And yeah, that's kind of not wrong, but then the consumers will say, "Oh, well, these companies, they keep on making and designing these systems and these things and these products that trap you and put you in this infinite dopamine loop, and every game has to get faster and faster with flashier things and more buttons and this and that, and so it eats away at people's ability to focus, and then that affects other things where they make other media that also has to be faster and faster and faster and faster, and just getting into that infinite cycle where they're like, hey, we're just making what you want, and they're saying, you're making what makes you the most money, and they're like, yeah, but we only make money if you guys buy it, and you guys will only make it if you guys buy it, and if you guys buy it, then that means that you will consume it. So it is a two-way street, but there is a lot of power that is still held by the ability to just reject and just be like, no, I am going to throw myself into something that has an output. To speak both alchemically and I suppose, on how lewd we want to get with wording, but an alchemical understanding of of humans, of life and everything. Everything is gendered when it comes to a hermetic understanding. And feminine gendered things are receptive. You can understand that through the mechanisms that you will, and masculine things uh, are output focused things that project outwards, that push something into the world per se. I hope we are all on the same page. But humans do need a balance there, of what we take in and what we put out, and while historically and generally, not all, um, men do find more satisfaction and fulfillment when they are putting out more things. Uh, it's probably where the stereotype of men only want one thing comes from, because that is, yeah, do have a bit more of a proclivity to want to project, and so the women are more inclined towards receipt. Yes, they, but also we have to be able to, men need to be able to sit down and relax through, something that is consuming, receiving. Those are consuming and receiving are the same thing in my mind at this point, because I have spent too much time around all of this, and same thing with, projection and creation are the same thing. And so one glaring example I have right now is my wife has picked up baking lately, and she is infinitely happier in a lot of ways because she is
Mhm.
making something tangible and gets to see my reaction of, this is really good, because it is really good. She's made pulled
Mhm.
pork. She's really into sourdough right now, just baking sourdough loaves like pretty much every other day, every 2 days. And uh
Great habit to be in.
yeah, it's and so being somewhere that she can produce something tangible, she can go, I made this and this is good, huh? Is It does something for our brains, and that's something I noticed recently, is that I re-kicked up in making my own personal YouTube videos, where I was for kind of for about a year, for 1 year, 3 years back, and sort of drifting aimlessly, sort of like I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Then, of course, stumbled down my hermeticism rabbit hole and haven't been the same since. Oh, but I was like, I need to find a way to talk about this. I need to put this out there. And since I've started making these videos, it has helped me to it's helped me to feel better. It's helped me to understand other things, and it has helped me feel better about myself, but while making something for effectively free for other people. Like, in to the mind, it doesn't sound like it makes sense. Of like, why would doing something that other people can take in, where I could put myself out there, where I might be judged, where people are going to say this is kind of ass dog. Like, what people are going to say that. Yeah, yeah, I've had comments on my videos where they're like, yeah, this is the most insane thing I've heard. This is dumb. You know, yeah, they'll come up with some. Everybody will always find something. There will always be somebody out there that does not like what you're doing, and that's fine. Um, because there
Or
will
just doesn't even
also,
listen fully to what you're saying.
yeah, or yeah, doesn't listen fully to what you're saying. Or there's times where, as creatives, where you're whatever you made may not be found, may not be picked up, and that's partially that's what happens with just about everybody. Honestly, it doesn't matter where, in this content saturated world, it is harder and harder every day for content to be picked up by the algorithm. All hail its benevolent wisdom. And as more and more floods the ecosystem, it is very easy to think, "Ah, well, what's even the point? Why put my story out there? Why put my video up? Why do this? Why do that?" Because it's going to get drowned. But the act of simply making something and circulating it within your smaller group of people, your smaller circle, as well as putting it out to the internet, is probably one of the most effective ways, because you will still get feedback. You will still know that somebody else is seeing and receiving something that you have created, and that is a good feeling. It is fulfilling. It is relieving. You're like, oh, okay, I can hear that. It's almost kind of a validation of existence. I enacted my will upon some part of the world, be it a page I typed or whatnot, or a something I cooked, and somebody said the words, "Wow, this is good," or "Wow, this could be improved," or "Wow, this is this is sure something." Um, and being able to go, "Wow, somebody could perceive what I created. That's crazy." And so,
Yeah.
um, all of that to say, please create things. Dylan, that's your homework for this week. Just kidding. Or
um,
not week. I don't know what the time frame's going to be, but yeah, we should totally find something that is a personal creative venture for you, um or try and push you towards that again, because genuinely believe everybody should have something, no matter how small, no matter how personal, no matter how
mhm.
private it is. Create. Enacting your
Yeah.
will upon the world is good for you.
Yes. Though, and I would say, well, and I don't have this in our outline, but that actually gave me a thought on a different one of these storytelling themes. But I've definitely been casting around trying to find like, you know, I've like if you say like you have like a secondary process going on in your computer in the background, like I've had that going. I'm like, I need to find some other thing to do that's like it's not just maintenance of my home or, yeah, job hunting for something that will pay better than my current day job, but actually like finding a thing that pro- to consistently do that produces something that I'm proud of, because there is that whole like philosophical like exacting my will on uh on the world and seeing it have a positive impact. It's also like I have been applying myself to a thing, and I'm finding that I'm actually good at it, not just enjoying the process in and of itself. And yeah, being finding that you are more capable at a thing that you assumed that you were not going to be good at because of the opinions of other people, family members, uh, that might tell you that, oh, that's not something that you have to do, or that's not something that uh, girls do or boys do. Um, but then you're just like, I want that seems like it would be fun, and I'm an adult, damn it,
Mhm.
and I bet I can try that. And yeah, seeing the post from your wife in our Discord of all the different things that she's baking and trying out, I'm just like, yay, love seeing somebody else also go through their baking arc, because I also like to make stuff for family, like that, using the different cookbooks that I've been handed. Um, but I think I also like uh, the other narrative trope is like seeing somebody go through that journey of discovering, like, of becoming more capable, or discovering that, like you said, that um, I can have an impact on the world around me. Like, assume the to have gone through so much of life and assumed that you didn't have the uh, charisma or skill set, or just the well, I guess presence and
Mhm.
charisma would be the same thing, but the strength to exert will for any kind of actual change of significance. Doesn't even have to be good, doesn't have to be evil. Just
Mhm.
it could be one or the other, but assuming that you just can't do any of it.
Yeah,
Uh that
there's
you're the tool, or you're the consumer, you're the support role. You're not the one that really has to do anything. Um, and it's real true that there are, like, being in a support role is important, but also, like, acknowledging ability, that is like you're still a person, you're still a human. You can think logically, you can reason, you have
Mhm.
thumbs, uh, you can do
That
things.
is also part of
Castlevania,
the.
the
Oh, continue.
Castlevania, um, the not the games, the animated show that Netflix did. So not Castlevania Nocturne, which has come out more,
Mm.
animated series that they did. Um, in season 2, there is a character named Isaac who is introduced as one of, like, the Dracula's generals in this campaign, where Dracula wants to annihilate the human for the the clergy burning his wife at the stake for witchcraft. Um, and out of all the vampires that Dracula has gathered to, that are influential leaders in their part of the world, um, there are two humans um, that serve under him and assist him, and they're forge masters, which means they can take, like, souls from hell and put them into corpses and to make them into these night creatures that can serve as powerful monsters in Dracula's army. Isaac has been, like, his whole life, he's kind of been a non-actor. Um, he was, I think, he had been sold as a slave, uh, and abused by the uh I don't know if it was like a reverend that was like that he was a slave of, or something, in this setting that they have here. Um, but, like, he comes to hate humans and thinks that his species does deserve to be wiped out from the earth, and he is totally fine with just serving Dracula, because Dracula's like, the wisdom of centuries and all this magic, and
mm,
he is far more deserving of getting to survive on. And Isaac is totally fine if like he dies so that Dracula can live. And Dracula just removes him from the equation and sends him somewhere else so that he can survive this final confrontation. Um, and so the next like season or two is Isaac going on this journey of like Dracula's gone, and like I don't have anyone I'm serving anymore. Maybe I'll go and become my own lord and become and he starts going down this path of becoming the very monster that uh damaged him, of
mm,
making these night creatures and you know slaughtering a town or two using these night creatures and making more night creatures from the bodies until he finally like comes across a city where these people have been taken over, and he uses his night creature army to kill the wizard that has turned these people into puppets. um and he then turns the night creatures towards uh burying uh bodies of the dead Pete residents of the city and putting back the city back together as much as possible. And the night creatures are really confused because they're like, we're supposed to kill and destroy, and you're using us to bury bodies, not eat them, not turn them into more night creatures. And now we're building, like, we're rebuilding the city. And he's like, you're you guys are tools, but that doesn't mean you have to be only doing one thing. Like, a hammer can cave in a skull, a hammer can, you know, hammer building materials into place. Kind is the kind of like the image that he you know puts together for this other character. Uh, and he at one point he's like, I could have done, I could have stayed as I was and just been a tool having things decided for me. But then I decide, I learned I have agency in this world. I can act. I can have an impact. Just like I killed you, and he's looking at a statue of this wizard that he had killed in the previous season. Um, and he like has basically been using these night creatures, like not because he's actually going to like set up shop permanently in this city, but he's like rebuilding the city for other people that might end up coming back sometime in the future, and they need a place to settle. And there's already a prefabbed city there for them.
mm.
And so he goes around like just cleaning up messes. But he's
Uh,
using an army of
oddly,
hellspawn
yeah,
to do.
oddly wholesome hellspawn. What a wonderful trope.
Yeah.
um, yeah, there's a bit of a current, and part of it I do think was the last generation. The divide in understanding of how of how the world works and how technology, society, everything had changed. There was this massive divide that led to a lot of kids in our generation being told by parents that because our our at least it seemed like from everyone I've talked to, including my own experiences, everybody had parents that were on the you can do anything you put your mind to, and then you say what you put your mind to. Well, not that, but anything else except for also that, and except for that. And
Yeah.
they had a very rigid idea of what anything you put your mind to is. And
Hmm.
so like, but one of the things for my mom was she would always say, oh, you can't you shouldn't go into writing or being an author, you should go into journalism, a stable industry that has to do with writing, because nobody buys books anymore, and journalism is going down a death spiral, and books are extremely, extremely popular. So here we are. But just there's a whole lot of those cultural divides and whatnot, where a lot of kids were told that, yeah, that's a cool skill, that's an interesting skill and all, but that's like a hobby. Like, you can't do anything with that. You can't do anything important or special with that. That uh Being forced to kind of relearn and recontextualize, like, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. No, there's a lot of skills that branch off of this skill that are actually a lot more valuable, especially in this day and age, than uh, you know, than we first thought. AI, of course, is in a very upsetting twist of events, taking over a lot of the skilled jobs first, because like, coding was the thing we were told was going to be the completely invincible industry, because once you learned coding, you were irreplaceable. And now most
And now we've
companies
got
just
AI models that are
most that code faster and better than
efficient.
humans, for a
Yes.
fraction of the cost. And so it just stuff like
Yeah.
that it's, yeah, things change really fast. And uh being told, what you can and can't do, is you have the best knowledge of the world that you inhabit, that, at least, even if it's not you, oh, the world perfectly, you understand your spheres and how they relate to the world that you are in. And you can probably relate to those people and uh get to those people better than you think you can, especially if you do have any ideas of creation, creativity, putting anything out into the world that can be consumed. One of the things I was going to say there was where you said that it's hard to feel like you can have any impact, and especially nowadays, it does feel like that is a much easier trap to fall into. Back in ye olden days, when there was no internet or anything, uh, you could hear about some people frequently enough in the newspaper to go, they must be important. Uh, but you weren't really gonna hear about, like, oh, here's everything that they did that made them. Here's everything that they did. Here's what they were doing on a day to day. And so for us nowadays, if we're like,
Information was like slower and not
mhm,
as easy to come by. And now
yeah, we're
I say this
inundated.
frequently. Yeah, I say this frequently, is that we have too much information. We're overeducated, and we don't have the wisdom and filters in place to get rid of the chaff that is
Yes.
just clogging up our lives.
And so when people have this idea of, I want to make something, their first instinct, and I know this was my first instinct, is to look at the most successful in the field and go, "Oh, I'm never going to be that good. I'm not going to be anywhere close to them." If I so for writing, if I look and I go, "I'm not going to be Tolkien. I'm not going to be Lewis. I'm not going to be Sanderson. I'm not going to be George R. R. Martin, because I'll actually release a book." Ha, 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 topical.
Yeah,
Anyways, but
you don't plan on writing yourself into a corner that you can't write yourself out of.
no, I'm trying to actually plan, and if I feel like something is done and I go, oh, I should have included that, I'm gonna have to be okay with it, or write something and put it on AO3 and hope that somebody reads it and be like, yeah, you guys can sift through all the weird stuff here and find, oh yeah, here's a little epilogue I wrote for this book. Um, but comparison is the thief of joy, is something that is, everybody needs to learn and hear and remember and sear into your brain. Is And nowadays it is easier than ever to compare yourself to professionals, to the the people
Yeah.
who are seen and heard and known everywhere every day. If you're a magician just starting off, you cannot go, yeah, I had a couple shows, but I'm not Taylor Swift, so guess I gotta quit. No, she's got 20 years of experience and so much, so much lore and legacy, dare I say, reputation.
Rabid fan base.
Rabid fan base, yeah. And then there's also, of course, understanding what you actually want and what you're actually going for. If I thought, oh, I want to be a one of these authors that everybody is talking about, and wants to have everything adapted by these big companies or whatnot, then yeah, I could certainly follow a similar follow a similar course to how Sanderson did, and pretty much put out like 5 books a year for over the course of 10 15 years. He's at like what, 70 novels now, something like that.
Probably.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I could do that and just do a sort of shotgun approach, not
It is
knocking and not
it is
saying that
kind of
it's bad.
wild that
Mhm.
it is kind of wild that like his Stormlight archive is like not going to be done until I think 2030.
Insane.
And I heard about that like 2 years ago. He was like doing like, roadmap of books being published that are, in the process. And he's like, yeah, this is what we're going to be doing. And like, this is the plan. We're going to try to stick to it as much as we can. And there's like, you've got Mistborn and you've got Stormlight Archive. And it's just like, oh, Stormlight Archive isn't until 2030. And I assumed that Stormlight Archive was done.
Mhm.
But then I also looked over at my copy of Way of Kings that I never finished because I was in Epic Fantasy Burnout at the time that someone gifted it to me. The book is thick, and it's just like, oh, there's probably like just so much substance to this narrative that is like, yeah, that's just going to take you a long time, and you might as well publish some other ideas while you're at it.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Humans are beings of pretty much infinite desire. I've gone down a very deep rabbit hole in all my research for my own videos about desire and how it informs and makes up most of what makes us humans. And so the uh, the idea that there is no space for me in the space I want to go into, uh,
yeah,
if that is the mindset, then yes, there is no space for people with the mindset of there is no space for me. But if you go in with the mindset of no, 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 I have something different. Maybe I don't have it fully fine tuned yet. Maybe I don't know exactly, but the only way I'm going to find out is if I start putting my feelers out there and I uh start prodding the algorithm and letting it know that I exist, which is why I've been going out of my way. And I've I restarted my YouTube channel and a lot of these things, because one of the big parts of that is like I need to make sure that I am getting a better understanding of my target demographic of young adult men aged 18 to 44 who really like high fantasy and Dark Souls, and uh who like gaming but don't want to read lit RPGs. Uh, yes, that's a small niche, but it's a niche that's out there. I think that there is more.
but it's
Uh,
mine.
yeah, it's out there. It's a small niche, but it's my little niche. And so, yeah, being able to just hone in and go, yeah, this is what I'm after. These are the people that I'm after. I want people that are more philosophically minded. I want people who want to engage with media in a deeper way, instead of in a shallow, chew, consume next, consume product, then get excited for next product. And
Mhm.
so uh just understanding that there is more, there are people out there that want to break out of that, and you might have all the same interests and be able to show them like, hey, here's a new way to think about product that you like,
Mhm.
that might help you engage with it in a more deep way. I don't think that's too crazy to say, and I think that's something that people should embrace more fully. That was a
Yeah.
mild, moderate tangent from uh, talking about brotherhood. I do realize.
I think if you include the point I made about you know characters going through the growth of having agency and finding that they are good at a thing that they discovered, that's three tangents for
Yeah,
just one subject
it's
point.
no, it's podcast tangentception.
Okay, so on that note, of the ones that we have left, I particularly wanted to definitely discuss the Last Stand final act point.
I wanted to talk
Um,
about harnessing the dark.
okay. Um, right. So I guess let's. But I also really, I really wanted to do the inner strength as well because I had a couple. I had an example or two that I thought
Hmm.
of ahead of time that I was just like, oh, this is gonna flashbang Jared. Uh,
I mean, you could
because
probably put that in. Is finding inner strength? Do these feel like, or do these take place in a bit of a last stand kind of scene? You could probably weave them in there.
I mean, yeah, they kind of did. Yeah. Well, it's not so much. Those aren't much in the last stand final act because like the one I was like, hey, this will be funny. Is the character that has that moment doesn't die.
That's fine. I mean, last stand
Uh,
doesn't mean you have to fall over at the end. You can have a last stand and go, "Holy hell! How did I win that?"
we'll see. Let's just go into harnessing the dark and see where we go from there.
Awesome. All
Okay.
right. So the next point that we wanted, another theme, another trope, another idea that I particularly am rather fond of is the theme of harnessing the darkness. And that sounds kind of cut and dry, oh, light and darkness and chaos and who will you serve? And no, the a bit more of a, I don't even know if it's more or a less nuanced take. Um but the idea that you can see in a lot of media of using a power that is considered dark, or that was considered dark, and learning it, understanding it without letting it corrupt the hero, and them wielding it to a greater potential than even the force associated with that darkness ever could. Obviously, one of the ones that kind of inspired that thought was Destiny, when the
Hmm.
Guardians started to dabble in dark. Remember, everybody
Destiny
remember that?
2
Yeah,
specifically.
Destiny 2. Anybody remember that game before Bungie decided to whatever the heck they were doing? Um, the but the whole
Beyond
thing,
Light
yes,
DLC, I believe, is
starting
when
with
we first
Beyond,
do that.
yeah, starting with Beyond Light, getting into Stasis, and then Lightfall getting into Strand, and then Prismatic. But using these powers, there was like, oh, this is the darkness, and the darkness is has always been the complete super duper bad, and it is the enemy of light. And then Guardians were like, but what if we harnessed this and used it against these the darkness? And oh wow, what a revelation! And I've
The
always
darkness
just,
was just a tool,
yeah, look
and
at that. It was
it
just
was
a,
being used bad.
it was a tool that tended towards, obviously, Star Wars is another thing that you can get into this, where a lot of old expanded universe stuff was a lot more intriguing with how it played on Jedi experience with the dark side, and Plo Koon's green force lightning, for example, where it was a force lightning that was more of a, uh probably still hurt, but don't worry, it was super purified and good. It's okay to shock people as long as you use the purity lightning. And so, but something that's always been very intriguing to me on that theme of we are going to dive into what was considered bad, terrible, heretical. Yes, it does kind of mirror, part of my own experience as I, dove into Hermeticism, alchemy, whatnot, things that growing up as a Christian, every time you heard those words, it was always in tandem with Satanism
Yeah,
and whatnot. But
pagan
then
practices.
yeah, yeah, pagan practices, occult voodoo, whatnot, witch doctory, yada yada. But then as I dove in further to this, I'm like, wait, Christians were very embroiled in this for up until about half a millennia ago. This was a very much a Christian field, and then it got abandoned, and then it turned into the field that I lovingly call gurus and grifters now, where it is just people that are like, yeah, we're going to use all these same ideas and use it to sell self help books at best. And here's how to just straight up, sell your soul to demons at worst. And so it's that's been one of those things. I'm like, yeah, this was just another vector that people use to try to understand creation. And yeah, it definitely does get a lot deeper and uses a lot of, spiritual things and ideas that can obviously lead down darker paths. There is, that acknowledging that there is a reason that the darker path often leads to some form of corruption is kind of the first step.
Mhm.
That's also something I do like with these themes, is when the hero does have to struggle with, but look how easy this makes it. It's like that's the point. Is it has to still follow the same rules and guidelines and ethics that you followed when you were following your light order or your light power. um because if this is just seen as tool to get thing easier, you will just cut out the middleman eventually and just start doing evil stuff because it's getting me to what I wanted to have happen quicker. And so that is a yeah, I do like that. But Dylan, do you have a couple of thoughts? I probably will think of a million other things to bring up, of course, right after this. But
I I, reading Harnessing the Dark in our outline here and thinking of like, oh yes, use the, you know, the thing that was traditionally thought of as evil or at least like kind of not okay and using learning to use that as a tool for good. I just hear Jordan Peterson over my shoulder telling me to integrate the shadow so so that you can be a more effective agent in your daily life.
yes, I of course
it's
love
it's
Carl Jung.
telling me to clean my room and
Yep. I of course also love Carl Jung, and so Carl Jung's ideas of integrating the shadow self, the reflection, the reflection of the worst possible manifestations of our best self. Even our best self produces a shadow of what is our worst self, and as the bigger, the better, the more grandiose we become, the longer shadow we cast. And so yeah, that idea of integrating the shadow, it does come into play with this theme of needing to take something that is, oh well, this if you just go, this is terrible and awful and evil, you're going to never look down at the ground and go, okay, that shadow's getting longer and larger the more I do, the bigger, the taller, the whatever I get. So maybe I should do something about it. And that's why Young very much emphasizes the idea of looking at yourself and looking at your beliefs, everything that you have, and looking at what is the shadow, what is the worst possible implication, what is the worst possible version of you, and not saying, well, that's not a part of me, because then you can't do that.
yeah.
You cannot have one without the other. Um, he thinks of it in more of a, the better you get, the the worse the pull is going to get to turn newfound power, status, success, influence, whatever, towards evil. If you start being just a generally better person, and people start liking you more and talking to you more, you might have more people approaching you. You might have women approaching you and tempting you to cheat or something. Like, there's things like that could are part of that. And so as you just go, no, that's not a part of me, then cool. The less you acknowledge something, the easier it is for it to surprise you. But if you go, yep, that is also a potential part of me and everything that is going on with me, I have to accept that. That's correct.
Right.
That is shadow self integration. I can't even begin to start on the Peterson impression. Okay.
It's like I was explaining this the other day to I forget who it was. It's like you do Kermit the Frog and then you like don't put your voice quite as far back in your throat as you would be doing Kermit the Frog, like halfway there. Halfway to Kermit and uh
Hmm.
just like interrupt your sentence with like, you know, just like, "Oh, well, then you've discovered something," like, stop in the middle and just like those little like words that he does when he's like moving from sentence to sentence. um I still haven't quite mastered it myself. Like, I could do perfect Kermit. I haven't quite found my like where Jordan Peterson is like consistently at on the scale for me. um but this is like a harnessing the dark is, when we're talking about like, oh, hey, men, like it's okay that you're able to be violent because it's a useful tool because it lets you protect. But like in the narrative sense, um, especially like how some stories present what the darkness is, it's like a slippery slope of saying like, oh no, this is a good thing to practice. Is like sometimes the point of having that dark side is that you are not feeding the monster, um, because the more you feed it, the hungrier it is, until it's just completely consumed your life. And it's the experience that addicts have, where uh, some people can taper a thing, but a lot of people just have to go cold turkey in order to. You have to starve that thing and rewire before you're able to actually move forward. Um, Now, that being said, like it makes for way cooler moments if it's like a power system thing and there's like a way to handle it without it completely consuming and destroying the main character. Um, like shonen anime does it a lot, I
Oh,
think. Um,
who do they?
like Bleach, Naruto, I think Black Clover as well. But like they're in
Busorenkin did it.
Naruto. Who? The what?
Busorenkin.
What's that?
The this ancient. It was the manga that got me into manga. That was well, it was by the creator of Rurouni Kenshin. Yes, that guy with
Mm,
all of the
hmm.
terrible
Oh,
charges.
right.
But it translates to arms alchemy, and it was about the
Oh,
yeah
right. You did tell me
these
about that
yeah
one.
these quote unquote philosopher's stones, and you manifest as weapons. And it was just shown in battle anime. um that's all you need to really know about it. But that was also one of the things, is these sort of dark, corrupted versions of these kakugane. And they would and of course, oh, the protagonist was actually a dark, corrupted one, and he has to fight against its corrupting influence, and all the fun stuff. I'm such a
Yeah.
sucker for that. I absolutely love dark, edgy edgelord boys. I will not ever apologize for that. Most people are like, oh, yikes, edgelord cringe. I'm like, please, Please give me more edgelords.
Yes, he is injected into my veins.
Yeah.
Hardline that, please.
Gosh, I don't like this main character. He reminds me of Sonic
Three more,
of Shadow the Hedgehog.
three
Oh, he
more,
does? Okay, good.
three more transformation sequences, please and thank you. Yeah, one of my favorite moments in all of Naruto is like the moment where like all the years of goodwill that Naruto has shown in spite of how people have mistreated him turns the heart of the nine-tailed fox creature that has been sealed within him. And in a moment where they're like, backs against the wall, there's this overwhelming force, and there's, the couple other characters have their trump cards ready, but it's going to kill them. It's been established that using those powers now would kill them, and they wouldn't be able to go on, much farther than, using those ultimate attacks, and then within minutes they're gone. And Naruto and the Nine-Tailed Fox like come to an agreement. Naruto willingly lifts the seal and unlocks a new form and is able to then fight on equal footing for, another 20 episodes until there's another power creep. But it's still really cool.
Oh no, Shonen
uh
Battle anime and power creep. I
yeah,
forgot.
yes. Where's the new power ceiling? Probably in 30 episodes. Give it time. Um I think, and for all I said that you're going to be hearing from Wheel of Time for me, this is my finally coming up to a Wheel of Time reference.
Hmm.
Uh, so there is, I know you're going to be reading this, and I'm going to trust that you're going to forget by the time you get there. Um, the Rand, the main character, uh, has a couple moments of this, of having to use the power that is considered evil or corrupting or just simply outright terrifying to most people. Because
Mhm.
of events ages past when the world broke. Um, any man that is using, the male half of the true source, the power that kind of turns the wheel of time that uh weaves the world and everybody's lives.
There's
uh
there's a male and female
it's
source. It's all alchemy. It always
Yes,
has been.
I know.
Mm.
Okay, well, Robert Jordan was a Freemason.
That's funny. That's cute. I
Yeah.
love that. That's so silly. I was joking. You weren't.
I'm just
Why am
like,
I
it's
so
not
good at
it.
this? The pattern recognition.
I know our pattern recognition is becoming too powerful. I did look this up because I was like, oh, there's some Christian themings with like, oh, there's a creator and you have a messianic figure, and there you have the original sin you know thread running through the story, and there's a satanic figure. I wonder if Robert Jordan was a Christian, and it was like, if Freemason and I think Methodist or something.
Hmm.
But you know, uh, it's been a while since I've looked up that little bit of information, so I might have the denomination wrong, if there was even a denomination there.
Would it
Um,
behoove you
but
if I
hmm?
admitted to you that I considered signing up for the Freemason Society briefly, and then I was like, I don't need them. I don't need that. No, screw you guys. I can do alchemy on my own. I'm smarter than this. How did this happen? What's smarter than this? I thought about it for literally about like 2 hours. I like looked at their site and like just like some things, and like when I was like, where do you apply? How do you find these people? And I was like, what am I
Yeah,
doing? Maybe I pulled a John Mulaney. Do I need to join a secret society or do I need to go to bed?
the answer was go to bed,
And
and
I
you
went
woke
to
up and you're
bed.
like,
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I think I'll probably. They're not going to let me, talk on the internet and talk about alchemy in Goonie terms. So,
anyway. Um, so yeah, events in Wheel of Time happened like 5,000 plus years prior to the main story, where the male half of this magic system has been corrupted, and basically any man that tries to use it ends up going insane. And there's also like physical deterioration over time that also results from being in interaction with the male half of the true source. And so for this is a defining thing that it's like the breaking of the world, all of these uh kingdoms that spring up have this built in, like, number one, we don't trust we male channelers is inviting calamity,
Hmm.
because like the topography of the world was changed by these men going insane and using the one power uh, to just lash out in their madness. Um, like there's a volcano in a location of the continent where there's like no other mountains and
Hmm.
there's no volcanic activity. There's probably not even a fault line there. But the this volcano is there because the guy who basically led the charge that resealed the satanic figure's prison temporarily, that also caused the dark one got his counterstroke in and tainted the male half of the one power, and that caused everybody to go insane. And so he went insane and killed his family and his servants. And in a moment of clarity, um, used so much of the one power that it would have just like burnt out his ability to ever use it again. But instead, he used it to commit suicide and raised this volcano where his estate used to be, because he was the most powerful channeler in his recorded history, and he was able to do that. 5,000 plus years later, it's still there.
Wait a minute. Wait. You
Uh,
said when the dark figure was sealed away, he
mhm.
gave one parting shot that was a curse of some kind.
Yes.
Why do you do this to me? Now I have to make
What
a
is it?
video about it. I was like,
Is this another From Software reference?
no, maybe, I don't know. This is definitely a Maple Story reference. That's exactly how the Black Mage happens. He gets beaten by the heroes. They seal him, literally how it's worded, seal him. And when he is sealed, he says, "Fine, screw you guys," and puts a curse on every single one of the on the world, but also on the heroes who specifically fought him. Uh, so
Uh,
each of them would lose something or some piece of themselves. So the mage got a fragment of the black mage and has to fight against his darkness constantly, and the warrior was lost all of his memories, so all of his skill in combat was gone. Their archer, she forgot that she was the queen of the elven people. All this stuff, I'm like, that's the same gosh dang it, Dutch, now I gotta go and look at all this stuff and research Maple Story lore. You know how hard that is. I'm tired.
I'm sorry.
I'm so tired, Dylan.
I'm sorry to cause this suffering, but it's necessary
I know, so now I have to look into why does the bad guy always get a parting shot before he is sealed away, and I need to
because they're
find
petty.
where. But I need to find where in mythology, because there's always a mythos that the bad guy that starts something, whatever the however abstract the theme gets, the bad guy's parting shot before being sealed away. Where does it come from? I need to find out. Thank you very much.
Genesis.
Probably, I mean, a little bit, but also kind of not.
Lucifer wants God's throne.
Oh, I guess,
Says, "Hey,
yeah.
hey, like I'm the highest angel. I'm the beautiful. Like we should share the glory." And God
Mhm.
says no and sends him. And I don't know what the Revelation says. Like a third of the angels is like that's the imagery. third of the angels, uh, and and then the new creation shows up on Earth, and he goes and tempts them into sin.
Hmm. Oh, actually, no, that does make sense because, yeah, then so his parting shot was really the Garden of Eden, where he was like, "Hey, if I'm gonna be sealed away, I might as well, uh, I might as well screw with your precious creation."
Or
And uh,
sealed out of where he used to be, his original position. Because like Satan's not see if we're going off Revelation, Satan's not sealed yet.
yeah, it's
It's not
true.
until the Millennium Kingdom in
But still, I
Revelation.
mean, sealing,
I think.
casting out, being put
Yeah,
somewhere where where they have lost a significant amount of power, authority, or influence, is
right.
another place. And so that, I guess, I don't know. There's something there, and I'm gonna figure out other places it shows up, and it's all your fault.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm, you hate me now, but I'm giving you video ideas
It's
for
a
like 2 or 3 months from now.
it's a free video idea, bro. It's a free video. I have to get through
Yeah,
Kododama though, and that's gonna probably kill me.
it's
So,
our collab, even though I don't have my own channel.
call it a collab. I'll
Um,
find a way to tag you.
any Anyway, so Rand has to, because he is, and it's like, oh, is Rand the dragon reborn? Um, and like we're seeing most of the book from his perspective. Obviously, he's the one that he's the chosen one, but he's a chosen one that has to use a power that is corrupting him and driving him insane over time. Um, And, obviously you're reading through this and you're just like, there's got to be a way to fix this problem. Because even if, like, they win the last battle and the Dark One is either killed or has a much better seal put on his prison this time around, men are still going, will still end up going insane and there will be a second breaking of the world. So we have to fix this.
Mhm.
Um, and so that is a thing that ends up happening. Um, but also it's there's like a third power source, not the true source, or where it's like the male half and the female half, but there's also the true power, which is the bad guy only team uh power source that allows you to do a lot of other things that people can't do
It's the bad
with the
guy
good.
only, and it's all the true, and it's kind of like is it like a unified version of both of
Yeah,
the
it's
masculine
used
and the
by
feminine?
both men
Is
and women.
is that what it is? You're telling me it's
Yeah,
Rebus? You're
it's
telling me it's
it's a
false
notch.
Rebus? It's the would it behoove
It's
you if I
all
told
alchemy.
you that the black mage was the white mage before he became? I'm going to kick
Well,
something.
actually, yes, all the Forsaken that are the like 13 like remaining Age of Legends bad guys that were also sealed away in the Dark One's prison. Uh, they were all also part of the same team as the good guys, and then it's like, we all wanted these specific things, but we didn't. There wasn't really like a good way to go about. There wasn't an incentive to you break the law to get them or something like that. Like they didn't have like a real desire. It's basically like the Age of Legends was um you like was Eden, the Garden of Eden. Like once again, like this is
Mhm.
why I was like, was Robert Jordan a Christian, or at least like have a Christian background? Because like the Age of Legends is described as basically being Eden. It's a utopia, and uh, they're like, they have all this technology. They've found all these fantastical ways to use the one power, and but they're also like, wait, but we can sense that there's this third power source somewhere else, and we're pretty sure it's not gender specific. Think of what more even more we might be able to do if we can learn to tap into it and see where else we can go with it. See how we can apply it. Except turns out in order to they have to like use the one power to drill into the Dark One's prison to find it, except they don't know it's the Dark One's prison, and then they release his influence on the world,
Oh,
and it destroys everything.
oh.
Um, and luckily, they technically end up winning because all the Forsaken are, fighting and killing each other as much as they're fighting and killing the good guys.
Mm,
But
I've heard this.
but yeah,
The
Rand at
Forsaken,
some
are they, wait, do the Forsaken, do they happen to structure themselves in any kind of hierarchy where they have, I don't know, lieutenants of any kind, or like head honchos?
I mean, there's like a top, like there's definitely like a hierarchy of power, because different people have a different capacity of being able to channel, which is their,
Hmm.
magic terminology. Um, and then there are like ones that the Dark One is like placed as, having proven themselves or being just simply much more capable than the others in certain respects. They are favored more than others. So tech kinda, yeah, but might not be in the whatever alchemical principle you're thinking of right now.
That I'm super sad. Oh, I'm doing some very quick searches. Does Morgoth from Lord of the Rings ring any bells on this theme of pouring himself into something, and Middle Earth is called Morgoth's ring? Is that I'm just looking for all scouring keywords right now.
um, he introduced, like when the song of creation is being sung, he does introduce discord into it, which is, you know, can be said to be the original sin event. Um, but I mean, I guess creating Mordor itself uh,
Mhm.
was shaping Mordor into the image that it, comes to be known as is, I guess would be the most you could say. I'm actually, so I will say this, as much as like a stan of Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, I am. Um, Information about Morgoth, I think, is more along the lines of the Silmarillion, and I have not read that one yet.
Hmm.
I've read the trilogy. I've read The Hobbit, um, several times each, uh, over my lifetime, but I have not actually read the Silmarillion yet. So uh, I've not read back.
Hmm.
I just know like general information, but like Morgoth is there. It would be arguably the Satan figure of Tolkien's, if we're assigning those kinds of like titles and roles.
I'm gonna get so into that. I will go on a crazy tangent if I no, I am here. I am
Make it
focused
a
up.
video.
Yeah, it's gonna
Make it a
be a
video
video.
for your channel.
It's gonna be like 19 videos that are gonna be sitting there salivating. It's it's everywhere. It's every single story. It's the same. I'm losing my mind, Dylan.
Yes, the hero's journey is across all. I believe I already had this. I might have already gone over that
Oh, it's
tangent
not even
with
that.
you,
It's not
but
just
we'll
hero. It's
we'll
not
save that for a
just the
different video.
hero's journey. It's that every single theme will find a way to echo in some abstraction. If you abstract a theme enough, you can be like, yeah, it's basically the same bones. Like, yeah, it's got different skin. It's the same bones. Every single story. It's the only one we know how to tell. It's something law written on the hearts of every. I'm losing my
Yep,
brain. I'm done. I quit. I quit
yep.
existing. Sorry for the crash out, everyone. I'm good. I'm back. I am calm. I'm zen. I'm zen.
Hmm. Sure.
Mhm. That.
Anyways, Rand gets to use the true power at some point. Uh, Spoiler alert, and does some really cool stuff with it. And it is actually ends up being the key that they need. Um, but it's like he doesn't use it in a way in the way that is corruptible. It's like he, narrative shenanigans happen like several books prior that allow him to be able to do certain things, but it doesn't show up until it comes in clutch at the opportune moment.
Gosh dang it.
So
Because how you said that, and I had a realization that I don't even know if I want to bring up.
write it down.
No, it's not. It doesn't have to do with that. It has to do with this exact theme. I just I feel bad, Dutch. Um, you know what? I echoing that idea of touching on the bad power, pulling from the bad. So fourth wing, that happens.
Oh dear.
The venom powers, which is the purple dark corrupty stuff, is
Hmm.
I from what little I know of books 2 and 3, I know that I'm pretty sure that Violet pokes at it at some point, which of course Violet, haha, Rebus, it's all alchemy. It always fucking has been. I'm dying right now. But I know that
Language
there's a whole thing of Zayden also. Has these access to these powers, which are the corrupting
hmm
darkness. Okay, well, that's a rabbit hole. But yeah, it's the
It's
same idea.
everywhere.
It's literally everywhere. Uh, and now I have to look into it, and it's your fault. Thank you. Anyways,
You're welcome.
that's all I had to say on harnessing the dark. Thank you for expounding on that and ruining my life while you were at it. Would you like to give us the final point, theme? We were initially had planned to do five. Well, we initially planned to do 10. Then it got cut down to five. Then we looked at this and we're like, what are we doing? This is going to be three at most. So, on the bright
Yeah.
side, we have a lot of other things we can talk about. And I assure you, this will not be the last time that we add to this list. So,
No, certainly not. Uh, we can flip a coin, but I think, uh, yeah, I think I'm gonna go with the final one because it's an easier topic to wrap up on. Uh, since we've been going for a while, so I think it probably is okay for us to head towards uh the uh last stand slash final act.
mm,
Uh, Everybody loves a good last stand for a character. Men, we all like the finding a good spot to bleed out memes from
find a
social
bleed out
media.
spot.
Yeah,
That's all we ever wanted. We all
yep.
want to be
Trace,
Arthur Morgan.
yeah, snowy creek side, at the bottom of a hill or something, or
I've
just a
always
really
been
good view.
exactly. I was gonna say good view. I've always been partial to the meadow, the meadow, and I think Creekside, but just not the snow. I think that but being in a meadow, although I don't know, the quiet of the snow, that kind of like it's kind of a vibe.
Mhm.
And then yeah, being able to just like look and just look up and see it's like everything going on. Yeah, peak bleed out spot. Anyways,
Yeah. Yeah.
good.
So, character finds himself in a situation where the odds are stacked against them, unlikely to survive, but their strength of character, their love for others, or and that could be like friends or family, um, the commitment to their mission and how important it is so strong that uh, they're willing to use everything that they have left to go down swinging for that cause. Um, I think, and I was thinking about this, uh, just trying to dive into like, going back to my initial thing is like, what is it? What is it about like a story trope or a theme that resonates with us? That like, why is it? Why do we care so much about it? What could be the reason? Could be the reasons why it we value it so much. And I was thinking about the Last Stand final act. I'm like, I think there is in some cases, not all, um, there is a cathartic, redemptive element to it.
Mhm.
Um, I think of Boromir in Lord of the Rings, um, with his last stand in at the end of Fellowship, where you have, and this is this sad thing about Boromir is like the dude is like you read like this is why it's like if you the movies are fantastic. The movies are like the best you could hope for probably of any kind of book to movie adaptation in any decade. Um and they still do miss some things with how characters are portrayed. And that's okay because what we have is still like incredible. It was lightning in a bottle, and you'll never be able to replicate something quite like it, especially for Lord of the Rings. But Boromir was like a Giga Chad in Gondor. Uh, you know, he is big and strong. He's descended from the same race of men as Aragorn, so they're both Dunedain, descended from Numenor, so they both have long life. They're both sturdier, stronger than normal men. Um, and he is a lord in Gondor, highly respected. Um, he is like, when he went off to Rivendell, it was specifically to like, he had had like a dream vision of despair as because Mordor is moving out and he's bearing of Gondor falling, and then all other lands to the west also falling, like dominoes, once Gondor uh, fails. Um, so he goes to Rivendell not because he heard about the council to decide what to do with the One Ring, but because he was seeking guidance from Elrond, who's known to be wise uh, and and to seek any kind of help. And then he finds out about the One Ring and the plan to destroy it. Uh, and he agrees to go along, and he agrees originally to destroy it. He starts thinking to himself, like, and they make it seem like in the movies that, like, actually no one can. Yeah, and that's the thing that they have Aragorn say in Fellowship is like, no one can actually wield the ring, which isn't entirely true. It is possible to wield the ring, but you have to have like a certain level of like inner strength and will to be able to make effective use of it. And that it's not so much that nobody else can, it's that nobody else has the time to be able to.
Mhm.
Um, they don't have the time necessary that a week they could even take the chance of trying to turn it. So they're just like, and we don't really want to try and take the chance anyways, even if we did have the time. Let's just destroy the damn thing.
Mhm.
Um, but Boromir sees it as like it could be the salvation because he's thinking in purely martial terms. Like he knows what's between them and Mount Doom once they get to Gondor. It seems like impossible. There's no shot of being able to pass through Mordor to Mount Doom. They'd basically just be giving the ring to Sauron. And why not better take the ring and let Gandalf or even his father, who in the books Denethor is a very different character. Like he goes out, he dies similarly as he does in the movie, but he is a man of greater stature and wisdom and strength than the movie gives him credit for. And there's definitely no creepy cherry tomato eating scene. But like, you think to yourself like, oh, he's a steward of Gondor, sitting up and making decisions. He's probably not all that great. But um when he's talking to Pippin, like the dude opens his cloak and he's like, yes, I know that what many people might say about me, um, being just not being in the conflict and making decisions from on high, and that would make me weak, which is why I'm always wearing my plate armor. It's to keep my body strong and ready if I have to get into the fight as well. And it's like, oh, this Denethor is way better. And he's like really insightful. And so there's a little bit of that, like, I could see how Boromir, in looking up to his father, would think like my father could probably, and also Denethor, they don't do this in the movie, but Denethor has one of the Palantir, the same seeing stones that like Pippin uses, that allows him to, and he ends up interacting with Sauron using that Palantir. Um, but uh, Denethor has his own, and he uses it to look around at the world and spy on Sauron. Except Sauron has corrupted the Palantir, and so he is able to, still allow Denethor to use it to spy on Mordor, but also Sauron gets to show him Mordor in a way that sends Denethor into despair, which causes him to go crazy and give up, um, and burn alive. But so Boromir is just in this desperate situation, and he just hits that moment, and he gives into fear and breaks the fellowship with Frodo, and immediately regrets it. No, understands what he did, immediately regrets it, and tries to set things right. And Frodo's gone. There's no repairing that relationship. Um, and he knows that, but then the Uruk-hai show up, and they start trying to run off with Merry and Pippin, and he's like, I'm invest. Merry and Pippin are friends. They're members of the Fellowship, and they're Frodo's kinsmen. Um, I am not going to let those orcs run off with them, and he dies. And in the movie, it's like, oh yeah, he takes out probably 10 orcs. In the book, he takes out over 100 or something.
Oh my word.
It's crazy. Yeah. Giga Chad Boromir, man, he's dude's built. The
Walk him down,
Dunedain.
Boromir.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But he
Gave him
does
the Talion treatment.
serious work. It's the story of Desmond Doss from World War II.
Yes, I actually do know
Yeah,
that.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah.
They had to um bring the numbers down for how many people he saved because they didn't think the audience was going to believe it.
Mm.
Boromir killed way more Uruk-hai in uh in that scene than they showed in the movie. But they had to, obviously it's cinema, we have to craft this scene
Apparently,
differently
we have a
because
budget or something. We can't
well,
spend infinite money.
it's not just a budget. It's there is a time limit of what we're doing, and yes, Tolkien has it broken up into these three sections, but when you read the books, the sections are a formality. And really it's there is no narrative break. It is one story that you are going through. It is still technically one book, but it's just in three sections,
Mm.
with their sub chapters. So it's like we have to have a climactic conclusion to this first part of the story. And so Boromir has, goes down a little differently. Aragorn gets there a lot sooner than he does in the book. Um, but there is like that whole, you know, I as a man, I've been trying to do my best throughout my life, and I've made these mistakes, and I've like broken some relationships with people that I care about because I let my anger get the better of me, or I made a decision out of fear and anxiety when I should have just stayed strong and held on. Um, Pull yourself together and just see it through until the storm passed. And I didn't. And I really wish there was some way I could, some act, something that I could do to prove that I am more than this. Like I'm better. I have a stronger character than I did when I made that mistake. Please give me the chance to show it. And so we see Boromir, who is like on paper, well, not even on paper. We are Boromir. We're not Aragorn, you know? Um, most of us are Boromir, or at least should try to be Boromir because he's a better man than any of us. Like I look at that situation, I'm like, I don't if I was in Boromir, if I was Boromir, I probably would have made the same mistake. Because I know myself and I know that, I'm not the promised king like Aragorn. I I would I would have a really hard time with that decision. If I had been going through all that setup that led him to Rivendell, and it's like you have the thing that could work. It's like, would you really think you wouldn't um, also experience the same kind of agony within yourself of like, I'm probably going to have to steal that, and I might have to hurt some people. Um, but yeah, there's that redemptive part of like I that this act will, I will go down doing this because my honor. I'm willing to die for this because honor and fellowship and virtue and love require it of me. I think there's also,
Yeah.
and I think especially when it comes from that place of love and that understanding of like, there are things that I value that I'm not going to be able to continue to love and value if I do not follow through on the best course of action I have to save that thing from its fate. Um, and following through with like more Lord of the Rings, Frodo's entire journey is this last stand final act. And it's so interesting that like to read the books and getting to Return of the King and the part of um going through going when they get to like the edges of Gondor and are trying to find the way to get into Mordor and then all the way up to Mount Doom from there, something interesting happens. You stop seeing things from Frodo's perspective at one point, and you're only seeing it from Sam's. You're watching you're from Sam's your second person perspective over Sam's shoulder, watching him go through all of these things, and it really does take until they're actually like doing the final leg, the 10-day leg of going from um, the Tower of Cirith Ungol, which is where Sam rescues Frodo after he gets stabbed by Shelob, the giant spider. That Sam's like, "Oh, we're not going home.
Mm.
Like, we're not going to get to go home after this." Frodo's already decided that he's not going home. Like, at least a month prior. um Frodo understands that like the weight and the responsibility of the ring um has changed his existence. And it's like in a way that Tolkien alludes to but doesn't specifically say. That there's just like there is something other to Frodo now that he has carried the One Ring for so long. Uh and he understands that it's like I'm, and he also sold Bag End in the book, um, as a part of like a way of like, you know, burning the ships when burning the ships behind us as we set forward. It's like we're selling Bag End and we're moving to a different part of the Shire and then we're going on this journey. But Frodo comes to understanding this like the Shire doesn't exist. Like the Shire will eventually be destroyed. Um, because of Sauron and all the other lands between the Shire and Mordor. And the weight of it and the responsibility and how much it takes from him daily, um, to carry it. He understands like I'm I'm not going to succeed if I'm still trying to hold on to the energy that I think is necessary to go home.
Mhm.
Um, and going home isn't as important as stopping Sauron. And you with uh so when Sam finally comes to this realization, there is this uh it is, I tell you, man, it was something else reading it for the like I don't think I actually ever, prior to reading Return of the King, now that I think about it, I don't think I ever within this last year, I don't think I'd ever like actually read Return of the King before. um when I read it, like, because it's like I don't even remember seeing this before, this section of the story. Like in the movies it's like, oh yeah, it's really hot, it's sweaty, it's dirty, they're struggling to find water,
Mhm.
and they're having to hide from all the orcs. The movies don't do justice to just how agonizing this was, because like they were already running low on supplies when they ran into Shelob, and then they lost almost all their gear, and then they disguised themselves as, well, disguising themselves as orcs came later, but they like had little to no supplies, and so they have to now figure out how to eat and find water in Mordor of all places,
Yeah.
and trek all across this landscape, all while they know Gollum is somewhere out there, and the Nazgul are out there, and Sauron's giant eye on top of Barad-dûr is looking for them, and there's orc patrols occasionally, and then the movie's like, oh, it seems like it's just 2 or 3 days from Cirith Ungol to Mount Doom. It took them 10 days.
That's a week and a half.
Yeah, 10 days of walking across that like volcanic blasted landscape, of barely having enough food to go on, um, occasional water of varying quality,
Mm.
um, anxiety, exhaustion, uh, you know, crappy rest. There is just this sense of like of running a marathon, and at mile 18 you twist your ankle hard,
And you
but
have to
you've still
finish.
got to finish. And
Ah.
but also all the water stations that are between you and the finish line suddenly like there's only one left,
Mm.
and it's at like mile 21.
Mm.
And so you got to limp your way there
And it's 96 degrees
with
out. Why are you running a marathon in Arizona?
because I was in high school. I was more fit. Uh, but
There's
it's but it's like Sam is realizing is like I'm not going to make it home, and there's no way to preserve the Shire at this point if we don't. And it breaks my heart to have to carry my master to his death. But this is so much bigger than us. And so now my life goal is to just get him there because he also loves his friend and master so much that he's like, I'm going to make sure that we finish this for your sake, for my sake, and for home.
I can't
Um,
carry the ring,
and it's
Master
so,
Frodo, but
and
I can carry you. Gosh, the
which,
delivery.
yes, so good. It's so good, and that's in the book too. That does end up happening because Frodo does like hit a moment where he's like, and it's the effect of the ring and the presence to Sauron where he's like he's starting to kind of like go blind, and
Mhm.
there's like a couple other moments where that happened. Um, but he's like, I can't go any farther, and so Sam carries him until like Gollum ambushes them on the slope, and Gollum's also been going through it because he
Mhm.
also looks like even more emaciated than before. Um, because he's been following them across the countryside. But uh, yeah, and and they do end up succeeding. But it's like, and they do get to go home, but it's only because they had the resolve to follow through.
Mhm.
And it's like they were willing to give their lives, and you don't really understand the weight of the journey and how hard it was unless you read the book because it's like man that is uh exhausting. Like it was exhausting to read and it was so sad and it was like when the ring was finally destroyed and they are like just like in the movie, like on the slopes on a little crop where there's no magma and they get scooped up, like it's just like, oh, good. Like we can go someplace and like pull ourselves back together somewhat. Um and then, there's like 7 more chapters of stuff or more. Um but that was very much the man, Tolkien's World War One experience is shining through here in this section. It's like, oh yeah, you're in trenches somewhere in Europe, um, in crap conditions and uh, bad supplies, just waiting and trying to hold out as long as you can, hold out to the end until you can go home.
Mhm.
You know, after Sam parts Frodo and Gandalf and the elves at the Grey Havens, he and Merry and Pippin all, cry together, go back home, silently go their separate ways as they reach each other's houses in the Shire. Sam, and it literally ends with Sam sitting down at the dinner table with his wife and his kids and saying, well, I'm home.
Mhm.
And that's it. And I was just like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, is that what it's like coming back from that, man?
Yeah.
It is.
Well,
Yeah. It's
that was an
something
event.
else. Yeah. Well,
Uh,
not even like, well, that was an event. It was just like, and life goes on.
yeah, no, yeah,
Like life keeps going. You still have stuff to live for.
yeah,
Um,
and also that
but
idea of being back and uh being like you don't get nearly as grandiose as a reward. The reward is you get to see the world differently and appreciate life differently. Grand
mhm.
some people did get reward. Aragorn got kingship, right? I remember some of these
Yes.
things. So
Um, yeah. There's like the sense that because Gondor has its king and is going to build its strength again, like all of Middle Earth is going to be benefiting from that in due time.
mhm,
Um, like they'll like there's the implication that Gondor will eventually like reach as far as Bree.
mhm,
Even though Rohan's in the way, but Rohan and Gondor have like always had like a positive relationship. Um, but yeah, Aragorn gets kingship. Uh, Gimli becomes Lord of the Glittering Caves of Helm's Deep. I forget what happens to Legolas, but like Merry and Pippin get like high places of honor within the Shire, and then I think Pippin, when he dies, is entombed in Gondor in a place of honor.
Hmm.
And I think Mary gets a similar treatment with Rohan. But um, but yeah, I had another like Last Stand uh, example. If you want to hear it,
Yeah, I'm kind of curious.
even older than Lord of the Rings, from one of my favorite authors, uh, Charles Dickens. Did you ever read A Tale of Two Cities?
No, I did not. You said you were reading
No.
that a few times ago, though. Or might have been
Yeah,
this week.
well, I read it a while ago. I had been trying to read through Great Expectations, and I think I've let that go for this season, and just choosing to read other things rather than trying to force myself to go through something my brain is not willing to process at this time. But I read A Tale of Two Cities some years ago, because I was on a classic literature kick, and you always hear about it. And there is, to set the stage further, so there's a character named Sidney Carton. Um, he is established as a depressed drunkard, or alcoholic. Drunkard. He's not like drunk all the time or anything, but he like definitely copes his what he sees as a miserable, purposeless life. Um, and he falls in love with this female character, um, who so he's introduced Sidney Carton, and the and this other man who this woman is in love with. Um, they basically look like body doubles of each other, but they're not related by blood. And Sidney Carton and his partner-in-law, they make the case at his hearing that's like, oh no, he's not a spy for France because these guys look similar, and you can't confirm that it was actually this man engaging in espionage. And he wasn't. He genuinely wasn't. But also there was like so little other case that they could provide. Um, he gets this guy off of life imprisonment or execution. That man then goes on and marries this girl that Sidney Carton also loves, and he confesses to her, "It's like I feel this way for you, but I see that how much you love him, and because I know that because you care for me so dearly as a friend, and you see, despite what a wretch I am, I will endeavor to become a better man." And so he just leaves, stops the alcoholism, and becomes a more positive character, becomes much more agreeable to be around. He becomes like a kind of godfather to the daughter of these two characters, because there's multiple time skips over the course of this book, and in the time that after this couple gets married, has a kid, her father moves in with them. Um, the Reign of Terror starts in Paris, with the French Revolution, and it turns out that this husband character is the and, as much as I talk about how much I like this book, I just cannot remember names of characters aside from Sidney Curtin. Uh, Turns out he's the member of a noble house in France, that ties to years ago. But because during the Reign of Terror, anyone and everyone who's associated, either is a noble or associated with them, and has a neighbor that is willing to report on them, uh, goes to the guillotine. He receives a letter from a servant of the noble household that he used to be a part of, asking for his help because they've been imprisoned. But he shows up there, can't find this servant, but he gets arrested because he gets named as a member of this noble house. And so Sidney Carton and the family all go out there, try and get him freed. Turns out the woman's father was like a prisoner in the Bastille for like decades, and uh, thus has a place of honor because he's like, one of the most oppressed people by the regime, by the aristocracy. And because certain characters are conniving and bitter towards anyone that shares this same last name, they're not able to clear the husband's name, and he gets put on slated for execution by guillotine. Sidney Carton uh, makes the ultimate sacrifice out of love for this family, and begins and gives is waiting, basically waiting in line for his own he goes to the jail. The husband is knocked unconscious. He um swaps places with him and gives comfort to the this seamstress, which is silly. This young woman who's like, she's supposedly of the same class as all the other revolutionaries, but she must have had some kind of bare minimum association with aristocrats or the aristocracy, and someone tattled on her, and she just gets executed with little to no trial.
Yeah, that sounds like the French Revolution.
Yep. And he tells this girl, like, I'm not. Actually, I think he confesses to her that he's not actually supposed to be there. But he tries to give her comfort that it's like, I'm doing this for others that love me, and they will live on, and that gives me peace. And he says, like, one of the most, you know, beloved, poignant things in all of English literature. Um, and I am going to do a quick search to find it because I do not want to mess it up. Um, so, speaking of his final acts, he says, "It is a far, far better thing that I do than I have ever done, and it is a far, far better rest that I go to than I have ever known."
Hmm.
Um, Charles Darnay, that was the name. So Lucy Manette is the girl's name. Charles Darnay is her husband's name. Um, People really should read A Tale of Two Cities. It's like
Mhm.
there are like little bits that like Charles Dickens doesn't quite get when it comes to historical accuracy, but um, it is such a good story of the human condition, uh, and just like both the good and the most evil, um, because it's funny to see like there's some elements that of the French Revolution that I read the dialogue of some characters and I'm like, wow, that sounds a little too recent. The words are just a little bit different. Um, but also it's like he's gone this man has gone through a life of feeling alone and wretched and wasteful, but he's got like all this potential in him. Like he's wicked smart and has a hand for law that is um in most people's hands, like they would be overjoyed to have this man's like intellectual capabilities. but he's been in just frustration for most of his life. And rather than further doubling down in his despair when he meets Lucy, he um, takes that as an opportunity to like, you and I can't be together, but the fact that you are showing me this much love and care for my well-being, um, like that inspires me to be better, and it brings out the best in him. At the end of it, he's like, oh, I can do this great thing. I can save them. I can save them all because also the same people that got Charles Darnay arrested and set up for the guillotine were also talking about getting the rest of the family killed as well, because it was the death penalty to mourn the death of an
Mm-hmm.
aristocrat, and
God.
his family naturally um, would be saddened by his death. And so this bitter woman who sees anyone with the last name Darnay as worthy of death, or anyone related to them, was like, I'm going to then say that they were crying over his death, and I'm going to get the entire family killed. Um, and so he's like, I have to act now. I have to get them out of here. Um, and it doesn't matter if they want me to not do it. It's the only way. My death is the only way these people get out of here alive. Um, and rather than despairing further, like he has an inner peace to it, that he's like, oh, finally I've found the best good I could ever do,
Mm-hmm.
which it's an incredible conclusion to the story. One of my favorites.
Well, I guess the major thing I can add to this that would summarize any specifics was two instances of quotes from very wildly different places um about this idea of making a last stand, or a final act. And one was, it was a series of posts about somebody that said, shout out to the one guy in Hamlet who I forgot what the exact scene was, but apparently one of the guards tries to stand up against somebody. One of the characters, the focus was mainly on this guard who was a nameless side character who gets killed by a main character because he has the audacity to stand up to him. And somebody had this reply to it saying, uh there is something about fighting when there is no chance, when there is no hope for getting out of something alive, to make the statement that you are not content with the state of the world, or the way the world is going, and if you die to see it change, then so be it. Or if you die to at least to not necessarily change anything, so be it. At least you said, nah, i'm not I'm not cool with this, I'm not happy with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes a statement. And then another one, see, I hate that we've been
I'm gonna stand
on.
here and I'm gonna yuck your yum.
Yeah, yes, actually. So I'm gonna give you another yum to yuck. It wasn't even a yum; it was a bland aftertaste. You can yuck. But the other one that was talking about, Last Stand's final acts, just my brain was just like, oh yeah, that sounds kind of like A Court of Thorns and Roses. Gosh dang it, I read that this month, didn't I? But a character during kind of
Go
the
away, Yaros.
no, not this isn't Yaros. This is Moss, Sarah J. Moss.
Oh, right, right, right.
But during this final act where everything's kind of coming down around, literally, not never mind. But everything's kind of falling apart at the seams. With this evil queen, she's just like, nah, I'm not going to, give up this. I'm not going to give up my power. This one semi-main character, he picks up his blade and tries to repeatedly charge in and get a hit on this evil queen, to even if just to buy time and anything. And when asked afterwards, why did you knew how powerful she was, he said, I do not want to, I was not going to let there um be a moment like this where where anybody could say I sat on the sidelines. I was like, that's actually very accurate. I can give you that. I won't let there be an important moment that everybody saw that I just sat on the sidelines. Even if I knew I couldn't do anything, I did something.
Hmm.
And I'm like, you know what? We, I'll give respect to that. There was a morsel of flavor in the largely bland aftertaste of the entirety of that book was. So,
Wow. She actually like, yeah, that's actually like a decent narrative use.
mm,
I'm impressed. I didn't think there was anything that
there's
virtuous in that book.
there's always something. There's always little fragments of things you can find in the strangest places. Uh, when
Mhm.
you just have to kind of be able to. And yeah, I like I said, most of that book to me was relatively bland. I was like, what are we doing? Is this really what's getting everybody so excited? But then that one little scene that stuck with me. So yeah, good job. You wrote one memorable scene in what, 400 pages of your
Yeah.
book. So
And it was like this sassy like philanderer character, right?
how did you? No, actually, that's. I was gonna say, how did you know? That was like it's a pretty predictable formula, but yes, it was
Yes,
it was somewhere
the
between
character
sassy and
that doesn't
philandered.
take anything seriously actually has like
It,
the greatest yearning for virtue out of anyone else in the
well,
room.
yes and no. It wasn't so much sassy philandery. It was a little bit of like edgelord, but also a little bit of like, the flippant. He very sassy and very much an ugh. I'm so over this. I'm so tired of these people. Everyone's I can't wait to get out of here. I can't. I could be doing anything else with my time right now. That
Mhm.
kind of guy. And so, but he's also very much edgelord. I only remember things that edgelords do at this point. That's my how I interact with any story now. I'm like, hey, what did the edgelord do? That's what we're following. um, but yeah, I still think that was a very very pertinent thing, very relevant.
Huh.
So good job, Sarah. You have not a crazy amount of actually no, you don't have more points than Yaris. Yaris had like two or three other decent things. So good job. We are competing for last place here. Let's go, boys. But that's
Trading red shells at the end of the Mario Kart line.
real. While all the other racers are patiently just waiting for you guys to cross so we can go on to the next race.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
um, no, that's everything I had. Um,
Yeah.
is there anything you would like to say in closing? Because I got nothing. That's
I guess I this would be I've just a couple encouraging thoughts, I think. Um, I would encourage, uh, number one, I hope that, tangential meanderings that we tend to do aside, that there was something that you heard that, might have been encouraging, might have been enriching, maybe a story discussed that piqued your interest that you might go and look for. But I'd also encourage, thinking about this, really really taking the time in this day and age that we have now, where everything is so fast paced. It is always about chasing uh the next source of entertainment, the next um top book talked about on social media, the next the movie or the streaming service platform show that's really taking off, um or the newest silly cultural thing on social media. Like, take some time and pause and think about think about the stories that you like. Think about the stories that you don't like. Um, why? Think about the things that you enjoyed in them and why. Where does that come from? Like really take the time to dig into those story elements, and suddenly you'll find yourself digging into what makes you you.
Yeah,
Um, because how we interact with stories and what we pull from them is a very personal thing. Um, it is, and what you find yourself passionate about, what you find yourself getting, uh, what you decide to push away, and not, even in what you choose to not engage with, is telling. And it's good to be introspective and to ask yourself, where does that reaction come from, and what is it that I'm what I what is it that I what does this tell me about what I care about and what I'm passionate about and what I stand for. Um, and if it's a story that really like leads you to some place, to some realization or some place that has been enriching for yourself, hold on to that story. Um, remember that virtue that it revealed to you and share it with other people with the intent of enriching them as well. Um, I'm sitting over here, I, I have my wife and I have my daughter who's 2.5 years old. I am so excited to share uh, the different uh, great stories that I know with her. Um, some of them are just simply cool or nostalgic or wholesome, but others I'm like, I want you to see that that these values are good, and they're not just good, they're really cool. And uh, you know, there's a bit of an accountability of like there are these virtuous men in these stories. Um, and I want to, if she really likes them, the there's a relationship between me as the first man in her life and the men that she sees in her story in these stories. And am I the values that I want her to look for? um so there's that productive element there, um but yeah, I think there it's all so much more important than we give it credit for. Like, don't let it make you go crazy, but don't listen to the people that say, bro, it's not that complicated, don't think about it, because just enjoy it, just or let other people enjoy things, which is different, but uh the stories are important, and it doesn't like go out into the void and do nothing. um so take the time to think about it and understand it and understand yourself. um and yeah, anybody if any of you listening uh, have any uh, thoughts on any of the stuff we talked about in this session, or you have your own favorite stories that you want to uh, that you would like to recommend, let us know in the comments, and maybe we can dig into that ourselves and share in that enrichment with you.
you've seen how easy it is to get me to start exploring for other stories and other thoughts and ideas around them. And like, oh gosh, oh, there's more to this, and yeah, that that could be you. That makes me crash out. So, well, Thank you for listening. If you have made it to the end here, of course, like and comment and subscribe. Like Dylan said, with the stories, ideas, and themes specifically that really speak to you, that resonate with you, that you extract and you hold on to, and that you can repeatedly apply to parts of your life. Uh, and one last time, I am Jared,
And I'm Dylan.
and this has been the Acastic Record.